if you are a person who eats, you should have some food. And if you are a person who drinks, you should get something to drink. And if you are a person who stitches, stitching would be good too. Everybody, how's it going? It's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube, and I am back. I have returned. Hallelujah. So, we're in a different location, and we're using a different thing for filming, which is pretty much the crux of the situation as to why I haven't been here in almost a month. So, let me get into that real quick. I'll just get through that part. So, let's see. The weekend following the FlossTube retreat, or excuse me, the week following the FlossTube retreat in Austin, Danny was home on his vacation, and I went to go film because he had left the house and I was able to do so. And so I was like, sweet, I can film. I have a bulldog head in my lap, just in case you're wondering. So he leaves. I sit down to film. 40-minute video, not a terribly long video. And it is gone. Like, everything is gone. It's totally wiped. That 40-minute video doesn't exist. So I was like, well, this is really awful. Let me try again. So I did. I refilmed the whole thing all over again. Another 45-minute video. Gone. And I know that it was filming because the timer was ticking. And so, I mean, like, there's only one way that I know how long the video is, and that's because the timer was going. And my little green light at the top of my laptop showing me that the FaceTime camera is engaged was on. So I don't know what happened. Now, my laptop is old. We bought it in 2012, early 2012, so it's 5.5 years old. And I mean, that's kind of short for the life of a MacBook Pro. That's not a very long life. But my laptop has been used heavily for those last 5.5 years. So I think that that's probably what the issue was. So I thought, all right, well, I'm gonna take a step back from FlossTube because I was not having it that day. And I'm going to get an external hard drive and try to move some of the garbage, some of the things to this external hard drive and try to free up some space. Hopefully help out the RAM on my laptop so that it can continue to run for a few more years at least. So I was going to try again last week. I got this external hard drive. I moved a bunch of stuff to the external hard drive. And instead of filming last week, I decided to do something else. And we'll talk about that when it's relevant. So then I tried this morning because it's Wednesday, it's time. And Danny was like, all right, so you should do a test. You should try to film for 5 minutes and see what happens. And so I did. I filmed for 5 minutes and it saved just fine. And he was like, all right, try for 10 minutes. I'm like, all right, this is silly. It's working again, but let me try again. 10 minutes, failed, gone. The file is gone and no record of it whatsoever. So my laptop just decided it was not keeping whatever I'm filming. So the long and short of it is we are now on Danny's laptop. Danny's laptop was purchased at the same time as mine. And his is bigger. I think that his is a 32-inch screen, whereas mine is a 17, something to that effect. And he's barely used it in 5.5 years. So I'm really hoping that this isn't like an iOS or an operating systems problem and that iMovie's going to run fine. Fingers crossed. I guess we'll find out. If you see this, then it worked out okay. So yeah, so we're going to give this a go. It's kind of, I mean, we had talked about me using his laptop before, but I've been hesitant to do that because all of my, hey, this is where I was clips are on my laptop. All of my settings for my videos, my starter screen, my music, all of that is on my laptop. So I've been hesitant about doing this, but listen, I don't want to give up FlossTube entirely, and I do not have the resources to get a new MacBook Pro at this point. And I am spoiled rotten now, and so I'm not all about that PC life anymore. So it's just we're gonna have to make it work. I gotta compromise somewhere, and so installing new stuff is it is. Now, why are we in this room? Well, part of the reason is that, so I told you guys that I got the semi-professional lighting for my birthday from my brother, and I have been lugging it from this room to my dining room for every video, just because this is a great storage space. I decided that's silly. Why don't I just try to film in here, and then I can just leave the light where it is? You'd think. So, on top of the fact, the last time that I tried to film, a few weeks ago, almost a month ago, Danny was home on his vacation, and so I was trying to come in here to get away from the living room so that he, if he was home, could continue to watch TV and not have to disappear and hide in a corner. So it just kind of worked out nicely to move on in over here. Plus, the added benefit of it forced me to clean up. And so cleaning up meant that I could get to my pattern stash. And it meant that I could more easily get to and organize my fabric stash. And it meant that I could have a dedicated filming space, which is great. So, and I used to film in here. The reason that I had stopped is because of a lighting situation. But now I've got fabulous light. Guaranteed light. So, pretty spectacular. So, here we are. It's been a month, and this is probably going to be a long video. Okay, so what do we have to talk about today? Well, first of all, I'm going to show you the projects that I've worked on. I have 2 new starts and a humongous finish. Woohoo, you probably have seen it if you're on social media. But I'm going to show it here anyway. I also have some other projects that I've worked on. I have plenty of haul purchases. I have some plans because today is November the 1st, and so I'm going to talk to you about my plans for November. I have read 3 books since we last spoke, which is kind of insane, and I finished all 3 of them in a 48-hour span. But we'll talk about that. And then I also have some knit stuff to talk about. No finishes, but a couple of upcoming cast-ons. So let's go ahead and get going. First things first, you're going to want to see my mug, but this is not meant for children. So if you have kiddos around, don't let them read this. If you have kids that are capable of reading at this point. So it says, I want to go to a pumpkin patch, watch horror movies, drink hot cocoa, and murder someone. You know, fall. Unfortunately, it's a right-handed mug, but I suppose fortunately for filming sake, it is not. So, and I have chai tea in there, just some warm stuff because it's really fall, at least today, for like a few more days, and then it's gonna get warm again. But whatever, that's fine. It's Virginia. What else to talk about before things? I don't have any Q&A this week. I looked through my last videos and I don't think that I saw anything that popped up. If I missed your question, feel free to leave it in the comment section below this video. Remind me of your question and then I'll get to it on my next one. And then the question that always comes up is what am I wearing as far as knitwear? So this is the honey cowl. And the yarn that I used for this is, it is a Malabrigo. Forgive me, I don't know which base it was, so I'll find that and put it down below. And the colorway is Archangel, which is very kind of maroony, purpley, orangey. Very beautiful. So that is my honey cowl. And I knit the extra long version to use up a full 2 skeins. Really fast knit, really easy to memorize. But I wanted a nice big long infinity cowl so that I could almost wear it like a shirt, especially if it's tucked under a jacket. So there's that. Super excited that it's cool out so I can wear some hand knits. Okay, so let's get into it with the works in progress. Now, I worked on, let me see, I believe it was 5 total projects in the month of October, but kind of scattered all over the place. And I showed you October by the Cricut collection in my last successful video. So I'm not going to show you that one here today. But the rest of the whips I'm going to show you in no particular order. But I'm going to save the big finish for last because, of course. So, I know for certain that I worked on this one on the 12th and the 13th of October. And that is the horror movie Alphabet by Clouds Factory. You'll be seeing a preview here of what this will look like finished, as well as a snapshot of what it looked like the last you saw it. Forgive me, I've got to take screenshots of my videos in order to do the befores this go around at least. So, here is where we are now. And this is on a 32 count Belfast in Lycan's Moon by Under the Sea Fabrics, aka Dried Blood. And here we go. So these are the characters as of now. Now what you'll see here is that I do not have 13 characters done, despite the fact that that was my goal. We can pretty much say that only one of my actual October goals was met, and the rest, a wash. Actually, no, 2, because I started October, that was one of my goals, and then one of my other goals was with relation to Electra. So, okay. Anyway, so I got a few characters done in those 2 days. Beetlejuice was started, and so I went ahead and finished him up. And then I also finished up Ghostface. And then on the 13th, Friday the 13th, I had to do Jason. Jason Voorhees, because Friday the 13th, had to do that. And then I was under the assumption that the new Jigsaw movie, called Jigsaw, was coming out on October the 13th. Turns out, no. It just came out last weekend. So, lame, but I wanted to get him done in advance of the new release. And then we have an origin story for Leatherface coming up sometime next year, and so I'm going to try to do Leatherface for that. And yeah, I had a lot of fun working on this. Now, I will say that working on these little Clouds Factory horror movie weebles, that's what I call them, they're weebles, I don't love that for very long. I get kind of bored kind of fast, and I'm not entirely sure what that's about. Yeah, like I had a really hard time, for instance, with Ghostface, because he's only 2 colors, and so it was just stretches of 1 color. Anyway, still pretty pleased with the progress. So I have 8 characters done. I'm almost a third of the way through in a year and a half. Yeah, that's a problem. So my plan for this is that I am going to start bringing it out on the 13th of every month. And I'm going to try to do a character on the 13th of every month until it's done, or until next October. Or when the Leatherface origin story comes out. And I don't think that there are any other, not that I can think of, origin stories or sequels or, what am I trying to think of? Remakes. Nothing that I can think of. Anyway, so on the 13th, I'm going to work on this and try to work on a character, because Dark 13 stitching, and it just kind of fits. So there is that, and now I gotta figure out where I'm gonna put things. Okay. Next is something that I was really excited to get to start. So when I talked about my October plans, I had planned on 2 new starts, and then 1 maybe. And this is the maybe that ended up happening. So like I told you, I got in here and I cleaned up in this space, and I was able to access my pattern stash, and so I was going through my patterns like, you know, as we do, you rediscover old stash, and you're like, oh, I forgot I had that. I really love that. So I pulled this out of the pattern stash. Judith M. Kirby's Victorian's House number 9. Super, super spooktacular. Love this. Locket Needleminder / Hogwarts Castle. So I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll start this. Let me see what I've got by way of fabric. Well, as it turns out, I had roughly a 13 by 18 cut of 28 count cashel in Confederate gray. And this was the remnants after I finished July by the Cricket Collection. And so I thought, a gray background. That might be a thing. And so I pulled it out and I measured it, and sure enough, it was the right fit. So I think I worked on this for a few days. I know that I started it the day that the Austin retreat started because, you know, I was feeling all kinds of, what was that term that Arlene came up with? You know you're missing out? YKYMO? Or FOMO. FOMO or ICKIMO. That's what I'm calling it. Anyway, so I was feeling some type of way about not being at the Austin retreat, and so I was like, you know, I'm going to start something that I know a bunch of people are going to want. And so I did. And then the weekend after the Austin retreat, the DC area Metro Stitchers Stitchy group met up, and I went, finally. And I got a chance to meet Stephanie from Miss Oh So Crafty and Sumira, and we had a really great time. And so I took this project with me because just before I left to head up there, I was watching Stephanie's latest video at the time, and she might have uploaded in the last, I don't know, half hour. But her early October video, and she showed Victorian's House number 9 and 10, which is what this is a part of. And so I was like, well, that's perfect. I'm going to take that one with me. And so I did. So I did the tree and the fence post and the pumpkin beforehand, and then I started work on the house itself. And you can see I left thread hanging. So I'm super loving this. The tree, easily my favorite part. I maybe shouldn't have started there because I can't get over looking at that. So I substituted the black for anchor black because that's what I do, and especially since this is on 28 count. And I also, the pattern calls for stitching 3/1 because it's charted for 14 count Aida, but I'm just doing 2/1 except for the knots in the trees. I got a little bit confused by the chart, or the instructions rather. So the knots on the trees are in 3 strands, but that's okay. Not a big deal. This has a mix of half stitch and single-stranded cross stitch. The back stitching is in varying line weights, so you can kind of see that some of the limbs on the tree and the branches are a little bit thicker than the fingers, I guess you might say. I'm in love with this. I'm absolutely in love with this. The only reason that I put it down is that this fence post is going to do my head in. And it stretches the whole width of the design. So, yeah. And the question is going to come up, are you going to do both? Because this design has, it has a companion piece where all you have to do is take out this line, and then they butt up right next to each other, and so there's 2 houses. And then in Victorian's House number 15, which is the companion, it has 2 trick-or-treaters. I think there's a witch and a Superman or a superhero of some sort. And I think that that's really cute, but I think that it detracts from the spooky. I think that it makes it kind of adorable, rather than just a little bit on the darker side, a little bit more sinister. So, I mean, you know, how sinister can a very perfect, newly painted white picket fence look? how sinister can that be? As well as the fact that the jack-o'-lantern is smiling. But that's okay. Not a big deal. I still think it's appropriately spooky and very much enjoying the stitching of it. I'm just going to have to do that fence in small chunks because that will drive me crazy. And this is the original. So apparently there was a shop that obtained the rights to this. This is, of course, out of print. There was a shop that obtained the rights to this and was able to print off some additional copies of it after this original went away. And so that's what you see when you watch Stephanie's. If you see that it's on hot pink paper, that is the approved legal reprint version. This is one of the originals, and it's got the thread sorter. I found this on eBay probably 4 years ago when I first started stitching, and I wanted something small but spooky. So if you are looking for it and you're skeptical about seeing the pink paper version, don't worry about it. It is an approved, it's an approved reprint, just not by the Judith M. Kirby. It's not reprinted by them. Anyway, so that is Victorian's House number 9. Absolutely love this. Looking forward to getting back to it at some point. Okay, so throughout the month of October, I was continuing on Wednesdays we stitch black. I kind of kept up with that at least until last week, but and so as I had talked about, the either Tuesday or Thursday butting up against that Wednesday, I was also working on Electra. So I would work on the black on Wednesday, and then some of the colored sections, the dress or her skin or what have you, on the Tuesday or Thursday, depending on how things worked out. And then on Sunday, I got a bug in my ear to try to get another finish. And so I pulled Electra back out because it was still October, and so I was still trying to stick with the dark October stitching, and it's my only year of whips that was on the spookier side of things. And so I worked on this on Sunday. On Monday, I worked on it a heck of a lot. Monday evening, Danny comes home and he was like, "You're really close to finishing, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah, pretty close." And he said, "Well, you should try to finish before the end of the month." Keep in mind, this was Monday, and yesterday was October 31st. So, like, he was like, "Try to get it done before the end of the month." What good timing to have this very Halloween style design done on Halloween. And I was like, "You're right, but I don't know that I can do that. It's basically going to mean that I have to stitch all day." And inside me was like jumping up and down, like, "Please, let's do that." And then Danny was like, "Well, then do that. Just take the day and stitch and try to see if you can finish it." And I was like, "Okay, sure." So I did. And I got incredibly close. So close, in fact, that I would be done. But I'm not. Okay, so real quickly, here is what the design will look like finished. This is Electra by Nora Corbett. Preview here of what this looked like the last time you saw it. And here is what she looks like now. This is on the called for linen. It is a 32 count milk chocolate linen from Witchelt. And yeah, so if you're looking at that going, Jess, that is finished. She is. I have 0 stitches left to do except for my signature. Otherwise, she's done. Oh, and beads. Yeah, beads. Turns out that's a thing. So at about 11 yesterday morning, I was really excited because I finished up the bottom. And gosh, she looks so good. So I finished up the bottom, and so I was like, all right, I need to roll back to the top because I have some back stitching to do, mostly to accent the hat, and I also had to figure out what to do in this space right here. You see that line that that's at her back, up near her shoulders? Had to figure out what I was going to do for that because I did a color conversion, and I had to put in Charlie. So I had a few things to do, and so I was like, all right, well, let me go gather all of my beads because I'm going to get to this stage, and I'm just going to want to immediately start beading. Lunch? Don't care. Need to bead. Right? So I was ready to finish her. So I, excited me, I'm like all giddy because I'm going to get to do some beading. Came in here, which is where I keep my beads. I pulled out the Nymo thread because I got the set from 123 Stitch that contained the 08. So I was like, I'm gonna break out my new 08 little spool. I made sure I had a cleaned off tacky bob. What else did I do? I grabbed Gigi, which I meant to bring. Oh well. Just to make sure that I did my signature and I did Charlie correctly. So like I was all giddy gathering all of my things to get ready to finish this thing. And so my beads situation is a little bit insane right now. I have much and more of my beads organized in the beading tray. And I have one box left in my first beading tray. And I have a second box, a second beading tray with the little suitcase looking boxes. I have a second one of those. It's right over here. That's why I keep pointing over here. That I haven't filled yet. And I have maybe 100 packs of beads just sitting on top of this stack. Most of them are organized by project. And so I've got I have the bead kit, the bead set for Snow Queen and Gypsy Queen and Rapunzel, and I have the beads for Stargazer, the original Stargazer before I've done the bead color conversion, and several of the pixies. So I have a couple of the Black Forest pixies as well as some of the Bewitching pixies. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to grab all of these beads, take them into the room, and find the ones that I need. There are 4 beads called for in this design. I never ordered them. You guys, I never ordered the beads. I can't believe it. So for a long time there, when I would order the charts, I'd order all of my Mirabilias when their new release is through Under the Sea Fabrics anymore. And so I ordered Electra and Gwen. They came out together in, I believe it was January of 2016. I ordered them through Under the Sea Fabrics. For a long time beforehand, I was ordering the full kit. So chart, beads, and specialty fibers. Apparently, when I ordered Electra and Gwen, I only ordered the charts. I didn't get the beads. And since then, I have stopped getting the beads because, like, I'm not stitching these at any particular rate where I need the beads anytime soon. So I've stopped getting the beads. I love collecting the threads, so I keep getting those, but not the beads. So I never ordered the beads for this. I have assumed for the last, year? I started her in July of last year, so a year and a half, that I had the beads in stash somewhere. Nope. And so then I was thinking, all right, well, there's only 4 beads. I bet I have them anyway for one thing or another. I have one of them. And it's the, like, almost jet black beads. So I was thinking, all right, can I do a substitution? Maybe, but I don't trust myself with the bead substitutions. Color conversions, I'm still dipping my feet in. Bead conversions, it's a whole other thing because you've got the different lining and the different finishes on the beads. DMCs, there's 454. Beads, there's thousands of options. And I was just not comfortable with trying to substitute with what I had in stash. So I had to order them. And not finish her yesterday. I was so disappointed, you guys. Oh my goodness, I was so disappointed. So, I've posted about this on Stitch Mini and I put it in my Instagram stories yesterday, but like seriously, you guys, make sure you have this stuff. If you're anything like me and you're like, you get to that finish line and you're like, I'm gonna sprint for the finish line. I just ran this marathon, but I'm gonna sprint for the finish line. Just make sure you have what you need. Because, what a downer. I was so bummed. So just before I hit record, I got the notification from 123 Stitch that my beads have shipped. And I was able to put in the beads that I need for another project that I knew I didn't have, fortunately. And they've been out of stock with these beads for weeks now. So I was really excited to place the order for these beads as well as those, as well as something else, because you do. And so I'll finish this when the beads come in. So bummed. But I have done absolutely everything except my signature. Because I didn't want to tempt fate. Watch, I put my signature in and then my beads get lost in the mail. And then 123 Stitch won't send me a new set, or they're out of stock, or these beads have gone out of production and I can't finish her this year. Like, let me not tempt fate. And so I'll sign it when it's done. I have decided to start calling these girls the Gray Sisters. I'm going to do 3 altogether. I've decided I'm going to do 3 altogether. Because I did Gigi. And as you know, Gigi had, she is charted with a cat, but I replaced the cat with a pumpkin that I named Jack. And then I also added in the spider coming down from her hat that I named Charlotte. Kind of obvious names. So now we have Electra, and the pumpkin's name is Jax, Jax, and the spider's name is Charlie. And then I'm going to do one more on this same fabric so that they're all sisters. And I think it's going to be Anna, or Anna, depending on your inclination for pronunciation there. Because she's holding an apple, but that would be like super easy to convert into a pumpkin. And I think I'm going to convert it to an elegant white pumpkin. And then the tip of her hat extends a lot, so I can get another spider in there. Oh. And so that pumpkin's name is going to be Jackie, like Little Jack. And the spider, I think, is going to be Charles, because Charlotte, Charles, and Charlie just kind of all works. Now, why do I call them the Gray Sisters? Because, first of all, the Sanderson Sisters is kind of copyright, and they don't look anything like the Sanderson Sisters, although this would totally be Sarah. Would it not? Totally Sarah. Anyway, oh, maybe Gigi's Sarah, now that I think about it. She's all dramatic, and anyway. But their skin is backstitched in gray. And it's kind of weird, especially on Gigi, because she's got a lot more skin showing, which is another reason why I think it's Sarah. This might be Mary. And then Anna will be Winnie. Okay, that's done. Anyway, these are the Gray Sisters, not the Sanderson Sisters. So it's kind of weird that their skin is backstitched in gray. So I'm calling them the Gray Sisters. And I can't wait to beat her. And she's done. So I bought this fabric. And I use that term fabric, but I don't actually mean it because it feels like lightweight cardboard sometimes. I bought this large piece of fabric thinking that I could get 2 of them on here. And I don't think that I can now, especially if I'm going to do Anna, because I think Anna is a little bit taller. And so by the time I cut that off, probably not. I mean, I'll do some measuring and see if I can make it work, but the problem that I had is that I set Electra too low. And so I've got, like, what, 8 inches of fabric there? Certainly 6 inches. So that's a little excessive. So I might have to get another piece of fabric, and that's okay. But I'm really excited to have my Gray Sisters. And I'm going to try to start her next year at some point. I don't even have Anna yet. I have a few of the other Bewitching Pixies. I have Gwen, don't have the beads, Ava, and Xenia. And I think that that's it for the ones that I have. And I have the beads for those other two. Because I was planning on doing Ava. But because of this pumpkin and spider thing that I'm trying to keep the theme with, I've got to do Anna. So there's that. And I'll finish it at some point in November. It won't be a Halloween finish, but, that's okay. Okay, so let's get to the doozy. All right, so on the 13th, Friday the 13th, I told you that with Horror Movie Alphabet, I was kind of done with the Weebles stitching, and I couldn't figure out really why that was. And I think the reason for it is that it was just getting into the weekend, and I am almost trained at this point. This sounds silly, but I am almost trained to pull out a full coverage design on the weekends. And here I was not pulling out a full coverage, more specifically Faces of Fairy. I am trained to work on her Friday through Sunday. So I just decided, all right, I'm going to take this. It's my mood. My mood says that you need to work on her. And so Friday night, I finished up working on Jason Voorhees, finished up those characters that I did on the 13th, and I put this on my frame. And I spent the rest of the night kind of contemplating it because I wanted to take a break. I wanted to walk away from this for a while. Saturday morning rolls around and Danny and I have breakfast, and he's like, all right, you should go stitch for a little while. So I sat down and got to work on her. And it was just like, it was just the most natural thing. It was just super easy to get back into it, and it made me wonder why page 7 was such a slog. But anyway, so I go to the Stitchy meetup up in DC and come home. Danny went out that night. He went to a buddy's house, and so I sat down to stitch, and I was like, okay, here we are. So I stitched on it on Saturday night, and then all day Sunday, and then Monday rolled around, and I didn't stop, and I just kept going. The following weekend was the Virginia Tech UNC game, and I was supposed to go to that game because it was in Blacksburg, but I ended up not going. Danny went without me because of the heat. It refused to be fall in Virginia for a very long time, and it's still kind of temperamental, but I don't do well when it's super hot right now. Wearing long sleeves, it's not a good situation for me. So I stayed home. Because of the car troubles that Danny had the last weekend that he went to a game without me, he took my car. And so I was without a car. I had no vehicle. So I had nowhere to go. No social obligations whatsoever. I put in 3,700 stitches that weekend, 2,000 of which was on Saturday. My record in one day before this particular day was 1,700, something like that, 1,700, and I put in 2,000. And I could have gone longer, but I decided to go to bed a little bit earlier than I would have, so that I could get up the next Sunday and finish the page. And so I did. I got up the next day and I put in another 1,500 stitches and I finished the page. So it was almost a full coverage page that I finished in 9 days. So this was, let me think, the weekend of the 21st. So then Monday rolls around and I'm like, all right, should I switch? I had 2 partial pages left. I had 4,600 stitches left. I was like, well, no, I'm not going to switch. That's just over half of a full page, of a full-size page. I'm just going to try to finish this before the end of October. So I got stitching. And on Wednesday, like I said, I was going to film last Wednesday, and then I decided, nope, I'm going to stitch. And so I put in 1,800 stitches on Wednesday. I finished page 8, which was a partial. It's like 2,700 stitches, or give or take, in 2 days. And then, no, 3 days. And then I was like, well, now I'm at a crossroads, because I did end up going to this game last weekend, the Virginia Tech versus Duke game, because it was night and it was projected to be cold. And so I was like, sweet, I'm there. So I was at a crossroads, because it was like, I knew that if I got close to a finish, if I got a little bit close to the finish and I left 500 stitches for Sunday after we got back, that was going to be on my mind. Like, I was not going to enjoy this weekend away, because that was going to be on my mind. I didn't finish before we left for the weekend. It's ridiculous, but I was going to not stop thinking about it. I get a little bit, like a lot obsessive. A lot obsessive. I was talking to Christine about this. I get really, really obsessive near the end. And so I knew that I was just going to obsess over that the whole weekend. So on Thursday, as of Thursday morning, I had 1,800 stitches to go. I guess I didn't do quite that much on Wednesday. I don't know. Anyway, so Thursday I had 1,800 stitches. I know that. 1,855 exactly. And because we were leaving on Friday to go to Blacksburg, I wanted to leave no more than 500 stitches tops to try to get done on Friday morning before we left. So I had to do 1,400 stitches or so, at least, on Thursday. So I did. And then I finished it on Friday morning. I finished it at about 9:30. I could have got it done on Thursday, but that ended up just not being feasible, but I finished it Friday morning. In 2 weeks, I put in 11,000 stitches. Right? That's insanity. Jess, you're crazy. But she's done. She says, forgive my wrinkles and forgive the fact that I am weirdly stretched. So she's supposed to be a little bit wider, but Millennium ratcheted up tension. She's a little bit tall, but she's finished. So these last 2 pages here, 8 and 9, were complicated. And the reason that they're complicated is that because I park my threads, when I reach the end of the design, there's nowhere to park them. Like, I have to weave them all in. So it took a little bit longer, on top of the fact that we went from skin into the blues and purples of the feathers on the body of her dress. So there was color changes on top of it being the end of the project where I had to tie things off. So that slowed me down a little bit. But then by Friday, I just had like this little section over here zoomed. 300 stitches in, I think, 2 hours. Yeah, it's pretty good. But part of that is stemmed by the fact that I was obsessed. And I was also not stitching on anything else for 2 weeks. And so I got really good at stitching on this. I was trying to do it so that her face replaced mine, so that you guys could see the resemblance that apparently Pemberley can see. Pemberley said that she looks like me. I agree. Look at that forehead. You see that forehead? We're just about twins. I'm just kidding, Pemberley. Anyway, she's done. I can't believe it. My trifecta for 2017 is done. I finished a chatelaine, a full-size chatelaine. I finished a Mirabilia, full-size Mirabilia, and I finished a Hade. So real quick, some details. This is on 25 count Lugana, 1/1 full cross. I started her on May 5th, 2016 for Stitch Mania. I estimate approximately 90 total stitching days. But keep in mind that 14 of those were obsessive. And 85 of them were in 2017. I barely stitched on her last year. The artwork is by Jasmine Beckett Griffith. And as far as Faces of Fairy 193, the White Swan version, I'm reserving myself. I'm reserving. I don't know that I'm going to do that. I might, but I need a break from giant forehead confetti eyeballs. I need a break from this particular aesthetic. But I love her. I love her so much. So yeah. October 27th. Mini Pearl was July 25th. Frosty was February 23rd. Persephone was March 22nd. I could be making these up. Anyway, I seem to have the big finishes in the 20s. Oh, love her. So excited. This is my third Heaven and Earth design. So up next is a legitimate full size. She is technically a full size. She's not a quick stitch or a mini or anything. This is the full size, but at 9 pages, she's barely full size. So up next, the goal is an actual full size, because Pearl was a mini and Littlest Fairy was a story keep. So yeah, super pleased. Oh, do you guys want to see the back? I can show you the back. There's the back. Pretty spectacular. Let me zoom in on those eyeballs so you can see what insanity is going on there. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, absolutely nuts. So there's my girl, Faces of Fairy. I'm going to take her with me at Stephanie's request. This weekend is the next DC area Metro Stitchers meetup. Technically, I'm not DC area nor Metro, but that's okay. I'm going anyway. Stephanie asked me to bring her so that people can see her in person, and so I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to give her a bath and an iron before we go. She and I. And then once I get back, I'm going to get on the hunt for a frame. Try to frame her myself, because she is on an even weave, so I think that'd be a good one to give a try. Might have some custom mats, or some mats custom cut, but we'll just wait and see what kind of frame I find. Because yeah, she needs to be framed. She needs to be framed immediately. So exciting. So I've got my trifecta done all in 1 year, which was kind of a big bucket list kind of goal. A Chatelaine, a Mira, and a Haid all in 1 year. So I'm kind of curious what you guys think should be amongst my next trifecta. So I'm going to try another one. So I was thinking Joan Elliott and Northern Expressions Needlework, and I need a third. What do you guys think my third should be? I debated Carriage House samplings. I debated like a Quaker, maybe. That might be something that I could achieve next year. That's the thing. Achieve next year. I'd like to do this next year. And since I already have a Quaker started, and I have a Northern Expressions, and I have a Joan Elliott, maybe. We'll see. We'll have a look at it. So that is that. But let me know what you guys think my third for my new trifecta should be. Okay. So that is it for the whips that I have worked on over the last few weeks. You can basically sum it up to obsessive. Yeah, we'll go with that. So I'm going to pause here. I'm going to reset and talk to you about some plans. Okay, so let's take a second here and start talking about some plans. The first thing I want to talk to you about is a change in philosophy, so to speak, that is sort of driving these plans. I also want to talk about my plans for November. And then I have sort of a general idea about what 2018 is going to look like for me as far as stitching is concerned. And so I'm going to talk to you about that a little bit. So yesterday, let's see, on Monday, I posted on Instagram and I thought, I said something to the effect of, I had thought to have a new start to celebrate the fact that it was Halloween, but ultimately I decided to stick with Electra and try to finish her on Halloween, not knowing the situation that was going to transpire as of Halloween. So anyway, so then everything goes down yesterday with Electra. I'm super bummed out, and somebody says to me, well, why don't you have your new start? Why don't you start something spooky and celebrate Halloween? So I didn't have anything ready. I didn't really want to start something big. I thought about starting something small, but I didn't have anything small ready to go. And then I stumbled upon this. One of the calaveras from Mill Hill, and this is in the morado, or the purple version. And so I thought, well, this would be fun. It's cute and small, and not to mention Sugar Skulls. It's Dia de los Muertos, so like it's all kind of perfect. Kind of perfect. And so I thought, well, that's cool. I'm gonna start this. And then I flipped to the back, and I saw all the beads. I got really sad. Which is ridiculous, but I did. I got sad because I'm like, oh, look at those pretty beads. I wish I had the ones that I needed for Electra. So I was like, you know what? Never mind. I'm not starting that. Added to the fact that I've had this revelation, this decision that I missed when new starts were special. When it was like butterflies in your stomach, so excited to get a new start. And that's kind of how it was for me up until 2016. 2016 was the epitome of my demise. This is all very dramatic, but new starts stopped being special. And I missed that, and I want to get that back. I want to get to a point where I make a new start and I have to like plan it out, and where the anticipation leading up to it is almost as good as finally getting to start it. New starts, if I'm honest, for me, have gotten cheap. They happen all the time. They can happen for any reason whatsoever. They can happen because it's a day that ends in Y, or Sometimes I'll have a new start because I had a bad day, or sometimes I'll have a new start because I had a good day. Like, there's no real rhyme or reason for it. So I have made this decision that I am not making a new start unless I have 2 finishes to come up with it. So I need to finish 2 projects before I can start anything new. And the effective start time for this was October 1st. So as of October 1st, I need 2 new start, or 2, almost did it there, 2 finishes for every new start. I made this grand statement at the beginning of 2016. No, at the beginning of 27, no, Year of Whips. I made this statement when I did my Year of Whips planning video, that by the end of 2018, I wanted to be down to 20 whips. As of today, I have 75, 76, 76. So as of now, I have 16 finishes for the year and 32 new starts. I would like to reverse that. I would like to have double the amount of finishes to new starts moving forward. And so that's what I'm going to do. But it gets more complicated than that. It's because I can't keep anything simple. It can't be a simple math thing. There are 2 particular categories of my whips that are out of control. Pretty Ladies, specifically Mirabilia, and Heaven and Earth Designs. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I have 10 Miras, and I think 7 Hades right now, maybe 8. Yeah. And in looking at my plans for 2018, like, those things they're not going to get any smaller. So in order for me to allow myself a new Mirabilia start or a new Heaven and Earth Design start, I've set additional rules. For Heaven and Earth Designs, if I'm getting ready to start a new Heaven and Earth Design, or if I want to start a new Heaven and Earth Design, I need to get from conception of wanting to start a new HAID to starting that HAID. I need to have the same number of page finishes as the number of Heaven and Earth Designs whips that I have. So for instance, currently I believe I have 8 Heaven and Earth Designs. I could be wrong. Currently I have 8. We'll just go with that assumption. So let's say I want to start Nocturne, one of the more recent ones. I need to get 8 page finishes before I can start that. However, I finished 4 pages, 4 Heaven and Earth Designs pages in the month of October. So I only need 4 more under this assumption that there's 8 before I can start that. So I hope that makes sense. I've explained this twice. You haven't seen the other attempts at it, but I hope that I'm explaining that. Essentially, the number of whips equals the number of pages I have to finish before I can start another Heaven and Earth Design. And so this will add up very quickly if I'm starting Hades. So then, if under the assumption that I have 8 now, if I then make that new start, in order to start another one, I have to do 9. So trying to slow down the progression of starting Heaven and Earth Designs. Mirabilia, I need to finish 2 Mirabilias before I can start another Mirabilia. So I want to start the new Cherry Blossom Goddess by Mirabilia. I need to finish 2 more Miras before I can do that. Nora Corbett's do not count. I'm on the fence. I might let Joan Elliott's count, full-size Joan Elliott designs count, because those are full-size ladies, as well as Passione Ricamo, because they're full-size ladies. So I might allow those before the next Mirabilia new start. But yeah, 2 full-size pretty ladies done before I can start another one. have 2 exceptions to that. No, I have 3 exceptions to that. I have Fairy Moon, which whenever I want to start that, I'm going to, regardless of where I'm at as far as the finished Mirabilias. That one I'm just going to add to the pile. Number 2 exception is Snow Castle by Randall Spangler. I am starting that for the Full Coverage Fanatics group on December 21st. That is the start of the first seasonal stitch-along, the quarterly seasonal winter sal. And I don't have any Hades that are winter themed, so I'm starting that one on the 21st of December. If I am participating in a stitch-along that is new starts, it's about new starts, then I am going to let myself have those new starts. So for instance, I'm thinking the Olympics challenge. The first day it's sort of buyer's choice. You can either do a new start or you can do work on your most recent start. It is not impossible to think that I might start Fairy Moon for that, regardless of where I'm at for finishing mirrors. So there's that. And then there's also in Full Coverage Fanatics in May, there is the month-long sale is new starts or neutrals. And the new start that I want to make for that is also a neutral. It's neutral tones, browns and taupes and things like that. And that's Lady Seated at Her Needlework. Lady Seated at Her Needlework, by the Hungarian artist whose name I won't pronounce because I will mispronounce. So that, regardless of where I'm at as far as page finishes are concerned, I'll be starting that in May. Maybe I won't. So that sort of brings us back to starting this. I've only finished one thing, and that was the Hade. So this I couldn't start yet according to my new rules, shall we say. There is a project that I really want to start, that I'm really excited to start, that is giving me that new start butterfly feeling again, and that is Give Thanks by the Drawn Thread. I really want to start that in November. But I'm going to make myself finish something else. So Faces of Fairy and probably Electra will essentially pay for that new start. I just, for lack of a better way to say it, I want to make New Start special again. Forgive me. That makes me giggle every time I think about it. But I just want it to be an exciting thing, and I also want to whip down. So that's kind of my thinking at this point. That's my philosophy at this point. There's something else. Oh, so for instance, December 21st, I am going to have that Snow Castle new start. I am waiving the additional Heaven and Earth design rule, shall we say, for that one, but I'm still holding on to this 2 finishes before then. So I have got to finish at least 4 things between now and December 21st in order to be able to start those 2 projects. Give Thanks, hopefully in sometime in November before Thanksgiving. Fingers crossed I can make that happen. I'm sure I could, barring the beads. And then I need 2 more finishes before the 21st of December. I am not ranking finishes. So I've got a couple of Mill Hill kits that would take a few hours and they'd be done. Those, if I finish 2 of those, that counts. So that's kind of my thinking for that. So now that's sort of my new philosophy. Now let's talk about November. Okay, so the stitch along for the month of November in Stitch Mania is Nano Stitch Mo, and this is loosely based on the the event called NaNoWriMo, which stands for National Novel Writing Month. And the goal is to put down 50,000 words of a novel in 30-day span, which is a lot. It's a big ask. But some really great books have come out of NaNoWriMo. Anyway, NaNoStitchMo is it's an event that is supposed to inspire you to stitch. Do something crazy or not, whatever you like, but somehow related to the number 50. So I know that Kate and Katie are both doing 50 new starts in 30 days. I know that myself and a few others are doing 50 minutes on either one project or a bunch of projects. I know some people that are going to try to work on 50 projects in the month, a mix of whips and new starts. So there is no one size fits all, somehow related to the number 50. I am doing 50 minutes on each of 24 projects. 24 is a really weird number, so where the heck did that come from? At the beginning of the year, I set some goals. Year of whips, more finishes than new starts, work on all of my whips, pre-2017 whips during the year, finish my trifecta. So I finished my trifecta. I think I talked about I have twice as many new starts as whips, or as finishes this year, so that one's out. I am not going to finish Year of Whips. No chance. And that last one, work on all of my pre-2017 projects in the year. I have 24 left. 24, exactly, projects that haven't been touched this year. And so, on a daily rotation this month, I am going to work on each of those for 50 minutes, at least. Probably more, because 50 minutes is not very long. And I'm going to start that timer when I am ready to stitch, not including setup or tear down or whatever. And I'm going to try to get through them all in November. Just a few stitches at least on every one of them. And so there's going to be a ticker along the bottom here with the names of them, so that you can see the titles of those designs. I have not brought them, and I'm not going to show them here today. And I'm not going to show them in any videos until the end of November. So I'm going to vlog this. Just little spurts of, like, here's where I'm starting with this piece, this is what I'm probably going to do, and then afters. This is what I did. I missed this project. Can't wait to get back to it, etc. Whatever other ramble I'm going to get myself on. Because it's inevitable. There are 3, maybe 4 guaranteed days in the month of November that I know I'm not going to stitch at all. Either Virginia Tech football games or Thanksgiving parts 1 and 2. And so this works out kind of nice because that leaves me with 26 available stitching days and 24 projects. Now, my plan is to do a daily rotation, but if I go on a wild hair and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to work on 5 of these today, okay. So I'll do 50 minutes on 5 of them and knock a few of them out at once. But we'll just kind of wait and see. So my plan after today, because I've already blown that today, but my plan for after today is to do my 50 minutes on whatever the project of the day is or projects, and then to switch to my focus piece. I have 3 focus pieces for the month of November that I'm going to try to finish this month. And I really think that I can get it done. I really think that I can. We only have 1 actual home game and then 1 away game, but that we're going to. But so there are 2 wide open weekends, including this weekend where I'll be in DC for the Stitchy meetup, and then next weekend where we've got an away game. So cool. So I think that I can get these 3 projects done. One of those is Electra. If and when I finish Electra, then I'm going to spend 50 minutes starting Give Thanks, because I'm really excited to start that. So here are the other 2 of those projects that I think I can finish. And this one I pulled out and started working on today. So this is Elizabeth by Glendon Place. And I've got her installed on my Millennium frame, and I'm just going to tell you what I've done so far. Rather than put in before and afters. So yeah, that's where I'm at currently with Elizabeth. This is on a 32 count Belfast in Buttercup by Glendon Place. And the yellow outline that you see around these 3 petals here, that is Krennic in Topaz. I believe it's 3228, number 4 braid. And so I'm working on the Krennic, working my way down. I talked about the fact that along with Electra's beads, I also ordered beads for another project. This one. So this one features both Mill Hill beads and then also these great big treasures. And they are the Margarita beads. Margarita treasures from Mill Hill. And I'll show them once they get here. That is what Mill Hill has been out of stock with forever. And like to the point where I was contemplating a substitution to a Swarovski crystal of a similar shape. But 123 Stitch had them back in stock yesterday when I went to go order the beads, so I got them too. So those are on the way. So this is project number 2 that's a focus for the month of November. Project number 3 is with relation to the current Stitch Mania Tour Day designers. And that is Little House Needleworks. That is the featured designer for the month of November. And this is also one that will stitch up very fast once I get into it. So another one that I really think I can get done. Partially for Year of Whips, but also in order to be able to pay for Snow Castle. And that is Needleworker. So there we have it. And this is on 32 count Belfast in Vintage Country Mocha by Zweigart. This is the called for fabric for Give Thanks, so it all kind of works out nicely. So here's where I'm currently at with Needleworker, and I think I did that in 2, maybe 3 days tops. So not by all accounts a very fast stitch, and I experienced that myself while I was working on it, so very excited to get back to this and hopefully finish it. This is actually one of those projects that I haven't touched this year, so this is going to get certainly a lot more than 50 minutes, but it's still going to get its dedicated day of 50 minutes. So there's that. And I've got this whole half of fabric to use for Give Thanks. Now I'm going to have to measure it to see if it's going to fit, but I think that it will, because Give Thanks is not very tall and it's very wide, so that could be perfect. Unless I have to order fabric, and then that's going to be a big bummer. But we'll see. We'll see. Reserving panic for that for later. So that is my plan for November. Finish those 3 projects and work on my remaining whips to knock out that goal. Now let's talk very briefly about 2018. I have gone back and forth approximately 12 to 15 times on whether I was going to do Year of Whips 2.0. I went from, there were parts of Year of Whips that I did not like. The biggest one of those is I didn't like how I felt so restricted, how I felt like the only things I could work on were my Year of Whips projects. And it made me miss everything else. There are some parts about Year of Whips that I absolutely love. I love that I just had this pile of whips to focus on. I realize that those are the exact same thing, just taken with a different perspective, but that's kind of how I felt about it. So when we started looking at Year of Whips 2.0, I wasn't sure. And then I remembered that one of my goals that is perennial, it's every year I have this goal, and that is to not have any whips from the previous 2 years, so from 2 years prior, carry over through this year. So for instance, I started this year with the goal that I didn't want to end 2017 with any whips from before 2016. So anything that I had started in 2015 or 2014, as the case may be. So now we're coming to the start of 2018, and the goal for next year is supposedly to not have anything from 2016, 2015, or 2014. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to finish all of those. There's no way. Way too many very large projects in there. Not going to happen. But I could potentially knock out 2014 and most of 2015. I say most of 2015 because in 2015 I started In This Moment by Heaven and Earth Designs, and that is a 45-page Heaven and Earth design. As of today, and you guys know how focused on Hades I have been this year, I have done 11 full coverage pages, and 3 of those are tiny. So really, I've done 9 actual full-size worth full coverage pages. So there's no way that I'm going to do 44 pages next year. Nope. Even if that's all that I stitch all year long, no, there's no way that I can finish In This Moment next year. Another one that I severely doubt I could even come close to finishing is Not Quite White Work by Northern Expressions Needlework. That thing is huge. It's so big. So, probably not going to finish that. So I was sort of playing with this idea. All right, so am I going to do Year of Whips? Well, what projects would I put in? And so I put in my 2015 whips and 2014. I have just one left from 2014, and that's Rose Fairy by Joan Elliott. And my 2015 whips alone, taking out Not Quite White Work and taking out In This Moment, I think I came to a total of 12, maybe, something like that. So then I thought to dip into 2016 to fill up to the 15 minimum required with some projects from 2016. And early 2016 I started, my New Year, New Start for 2016 was Autumn Fairy by Chatelaine, so another large project. And then very shortly thereafter, Personal Sunshine by Heaven and Earth Designs, another 24-page Hade. So I'm like, this is not really working out. On top of the fact that the goal is to work on those 2015 whips. So I instead decided to fill the Year of Whips with pages from In This Moment. And so I have decided that my Heaven and Earth Design primary focus in 2018, I have to think about that, is In This Moment by Jeremiah Kittner. And my hope is that along with all of the other page finishes that I need for any new starts, I would like to get 6 pages done on In This Moment. I'd like to have through 6 pages. I have page 1 done, and so I need 5 more to reach that goal. So I've been mulling this over. Am I going to do this? And as of today, and I still have some time to decide officially if I'm doing Year of Whips next year, but as of today, I am going to do Year of Whips. We'll see what happens. So that's it for the plans. Was that long enough on plans? Especially since I'm probably going to toss them all out. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch over to purchases. And keep in mind that this is for a month. Yeah. So there's quite a bit here. Okay, so I'm going to start with the threads. I meant to bring it and I totally forgot. It's in my hamper. So Kellyanne Langley, who is also the Dyed Panda, she has a FlossTube channel. You should definitely check her out. She lives near Houston. And after Harvey came through, Kellyanne set up she was doing custom dyed t-shirts. And if you watch Pam and Steph from Just Keep Stitching or Michelle Bendy Stitchy, then you will have seen this because I know that they wore their shirts in their relevant videos. Anyway, so I bought this shirt because she was donating the proceeds, any sort of profit after cost of making these shirts, she was donating to the hurricane relief effort. And so I was like, well, this is a really great thing. And so as thank you, she sent me some floss. And she sent everybody some. And so this is like bubblegum Barbie pink. It's showing up more neon than it really is. I mean, it's a hot pink. Oh. There we go. So, gorgeous. And so that was really cool. Actually, right there is the thank you card. This is a great big thanks card. That was kind of cool. And I love that shirt. I wear it all the time. It says Stitchers for Texans or Texas. Stitchers for Texas with her panda logo, and the Texas is in like what looks like cross stitch font, and then she hand tie-dyed them. So really, really cool. Okay, everything's got a story. Why does it always have a story? So I'm working on my thread organization, my thread stash organization. And more specifically, I wanted an idea of what colors I have in hand dyeds compared to what I don't. So I'm, working away, and my hand dyed thread stash is sad, if I'm honest. I made the brutal error of printing off the current offerings by each of these hand dyers. So Weeks Dye Works, Classic Color Works, Gentle Arts, and Karen, and then highlighting the ones that I have, and it's like little bits. I don't have much for hand dyed. And so I was thinking about hand dyed threads, and a particular dyer that I didn't have any of previously, and I felt the need to address that situation. And so I ordered some threads from Angela at Color and Cotton. Now these have a specific project in mind, but we have one low flame, which is variegated oranges and yellows. Her tags are fabulous. We have 2 of spiced orange, which I'll be honest, on screen I thought that they were going to be more orange. They're really, they're spiced orange. They look like pumpkin spice latte. And then 2 witches socks. And I don't think that I needed 2 of these, but then I saw them and I needed 2 of them. So it's this almost ultraviolet purple. A little bit deeper than it's showing on camera there, but beautiful. I also subscribed to her Threads of the Month. And so I'll be getting my first set this month here in November. I placed this order on October the 5th, and she sort of makes her dye plans on the 5th. So, yeah. Didn't quite make it in time for the October threads, but that's okay. I'll start getting them here in November. And I'm really excited about that. And I'll show you the project that those were purchased for here in a second. Next are my fabrics of the month. These are both the September fabrics. First, we have Under the Sea in Sagebrush, and both of them are 32 count Belfast fat quarter cut. And so this is kind of like a denim-y blue with some punches of green. Kind of some cool dye spots. I really like this one right here. That dye spot's kind of cool. So yeah, not a clue what this is going to be when it grows up, but there we have. Okay. And then next we have from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie, and this is Jamie's Kilt. Yes, Jamie's Kilt. Very Outlander-esque. Oh, smells good. Yep. Oh, never mind. That's transference. So some Highland greens with some reds and just neutrals. Very beautiful. So there is that. It's showing up more blue. I guess it's kind of a bluey gray in there. Anyway. Next are my first fabrics from XG Design. I told you guys in the last video, the McKenna effect led me down this purchasing rabbit hole where I bought fabric from Jukos in Hungary. So these are the fabrics that I got. The first one, the one that prompted the whole order, this is 40 count Newcastle in old linen. And they still smell amazing. Now, mind you, I tried to show you these the last time that I tried to film, and since that failed, these have sat here, just waiting to be shown. So obviously I didn't start what I had planned on when I ordered this fabric, but it's beautiful. It's just like a soft, taupey, old linen. And it's so soft. Like, crazy soft, and it smells so good. So, there's old linen. And then, because when you order from Jukos, if you spend enough, you get free shipping, and free shipping from Hungary is always nice. So I got a fat quarter of 28 count linen. This is not Cashel, I don't believe. Let me see, I still have my tags. No, it's Maran, M-E-R-A-N, I think. And these were so beautiful, tied up, and I untied them for you guys, and I think I actually unwrapped the package. Anyway, this is Gold Sand, is the color. And it is what you might expect from Gold Sand. It's this very soft, buttery yellow. And then there are some gray dye spots, and then some brighter orangey yellow spots. Gorgeous. This fabric is interesting. It kind of feels like Cashel, but it kind of feels a little bit stiffer, sort of like the, like if Witchelt and Zygarde got together and they made a 28 count fabric baby, it would be this. Sort of stiff, sort of soft. And then because when you order from Extra Design, you get some of her hand-dyed floss. This is Wickered Basket. So there's that very beautiful 100% cotton, do not wash. 4 meters, 4.35 yards. So there is that, absolutely gorgeous. She sent me a neutral, and I got a bunch of neutral fabrics. I love that. Okay, so this is what inspired this whole buying bonanza in the first place. This is Halloween Quicker by Lila's Studio. And so that's what I bought the old linen for, and that's also what I bought those threads from Angela Color and Cotton. Because you see there are some purples in here, and the brush on the broom, and there's some sort of motifs over here. This pumpkin over here, it's kind of yellows and oranges. So that's what I got the low flame for. And then there is also a brown called for. Maybe not. Maybe I ordered spiced orange thinking that it would be brighter for like the pumpkins. But that's okay. I will find a way to use that spiced orange. Don't you fret. I will use a hand-dyed brown. No problems. And so, yeah, I got all those for this. Everything is for this. That I didn't start because new rules. So there's that. And then, because nothing should travel alone, I got another chart from Lila's Studio. And this is from her Smalls seasonal series. And so, autumn, because duh. I'm a cat, duh. Anyway, so there is that. I forgot about this. Okay. So I don't know what I was thinking. It was the weekend that Danny was gone. I was stitching like a mad fool on faces. And so I bought this. I don't know how any of those things are related whatsoever. They're probably not, but I got this. And so this is Barbara Anna Designs. Oh, I know. I saw this on Facebook. Somebody had just finished this on Facebook, and I went, I need that. And then Creative Poppy had it, so I ordered it. And this is called Something Wicked. And it says, by the pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes. And that text up there is over 1. So Creative Poppy, if you haven't heard of it, and I really hope that you have, because it is a wealth of a resource. It is digital charts for licensed, legally sold digital charts for several fantastic designers. Tempting Tangles, Barbara Anna Designs, several French designers and Italian designers are on there. Frosted Pumpkin. There's more. Leslie Tier. Anyway, yeah, I wanted this, and so I bought it. That's what happened. Okay, guys. This is the story. The weekend that Danny went down to the North Carolina football game, the UNC football game, the Virginia Tech wallop of North Carolina. I was feeling pretty down in the dumps about not being able to go. I didn't like that I wasn't able to get to that game. I didn't want to miss any other football games. I missed West Virginia and I missed Old Dominion. I didn't want to miss an ACC game. Had to happen. And so he was like, well, since you are effectively saving us a bunch of money, first of all, the sale of my ticket, and then also we wouldn't have to board Thor, why don't you take some of that, my gift to you, and go buy yourself something stitchy, or something yarny, something stitchy. That's pretty much where I was feeling. The day before we had this conversation, I was watching a video from Lisa's Stitching and Such. And she talked about the status of Mirabilia designs. And cue the panic. It kind of felt like to me like we are on the verge of a prairie schooler apocalypse. Something to that effect. That essentially designs are going out of print, but there's no announcement being made that they're going out of print. Specifically, some of the older designs. I know that one of the seasonal queens just all of a sudden fell off the map. And now it's not even listed on the Mirabilia website anymore. Can't remember which one. Is it Spring Queen, maybe? I think so, because Andrea at I Heart Cross Stitch was talking about wanting to get it. I think so. And I have noticed in my perusal of 123 Stitch that certain Mirabilia designs, they're like, currently unavailable, please remove this from your cart. But I've sort of always been under the assumption, well, these designs haven't been announced that they are out of print, so they're going to get another batch before too long. Some of them are disappearing off 123 Stitch entirely. And it's like, it's starting to give me heart palpitations. Like, I have a happy Mirabilia stash. Happy place is my Mirabilia stash. But there are some older designs that I have always wanted that I am now becoming a little bit terrified are just going to disappear. And they're going to go the way of Lady of the Flag. In that now they're going to be sold at an extraordinary premium. And I love Lady of the Flag. I would love to stitch that. American Pride, can't help it. Can't help it. I will not pay for that design at its current asking price. Touching the Autumn Sky is a Mirabilia design that I have loved for a very long time. I am unwilling to pay what the asking price is for that at this point. I haven't seen anything less than $120 in a couple years. Tiger Lily, very rare. Still not the asking price of Lady of the Flag, but still $130. Or from a sketchy seller on eBay that you don't trust. I don't want these older designs that I've wanted for a while to go that route. So Danny goes, get yourself something. I went to 123 Stitch and scoured the Mirabilias and picked two that are older, that may be at risk. Actually, I looked for two others. I looked for the Maidens of the Seasons 1 and 2. Gone from 123 Stitch. Holy cannoli. So I was like, all right, calm yourself, find something else. So that led us to White Christmas. And yeah, love her. This is Mirabilia design number 90 from 2006. So she's 11 years old. So she's not old. She's not 90s old, but all the same. So White Christmas. And it says on the back, on Christmas Eve, the Gothic windows were laced with frost. Icicles gleam as the snow flutters in silence. A lady in red cups her hands around a single snowflake, and tiny crystal snowdrops are scattered across her plush velvet cape. May all your Christmas Eves be filled with magical beauty and peace. Nora. Oh, spectacular, right? Right. Whole bunch of beads and treasures, one whisper and a Krennic. Yes, love. Okay, so very happy. Got that one. Then there's this one, and I don't think that this one has necessarily risk for going out of print unless the case is that they're just letting these things fall off the printer and then they're not just printing anymore. So I got this one. This is Crescent Dreams. And on the back, it says, how do you keep a baby from falling off the moon? First, bundle the little one into a blanket stitched from evening clouds. Tie securely with ribbons fashioned from shooting stars, then switch on the crystal moonbeam nightlight. Sweetly elegant, a rarity among baby gifts. This tiny tot is awash in elegant pastels that blend beautifully with any nursery color scheme. So cute. So, I put this in my cart. And as 1, 2, 3 Stitch does, it says, did you see this? And I went, oh, but those are, they have to go together. They should be together, right? I mean, right? Right. Fairy Moon, or excuse me, Moonflowers and Crescent Dreams together. Moonflowers. This one I don't think is really at risk at all. It's relatively new, I think 2015. So, Moonflowers. There was once a little girl who wanted nothing more in this world than her very own fairy. So her grandmother, who loved to garden, whispered a secret. That's it. That's all it says. That's kind of cryptic. Anyway, love those two together. So they had to come together. So I've got this smirk on my face because I know what's coming. So I ordered that along with needles or whatever. So I still had some money left in this budget of mine for this gift from Danny for not going to the tech game. And so I went to eBay to look for some of the other ones. Some of the ones that are officially out of print, some of these that aren't out of print. Most specifically, I went looking for Maidens of the Seasons Part 2. And so I'm scrolling, I'm looking, I'm typing in all of the relevant search schemes. Maidens of the Season, Mirabilia, Mirabilia Seasonal, etc., etc. And I can't find a copy of Maidens of the Season 2 from a reputable seller for less than $25. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is a sign of things to come. So I keep looking. And then I'm scrolling, and you know how on eBay sometimes, this is why it's the Bay of Evil, sometimes it goes, well, we didn't find that many of your original search terms. Here is something that might be related. And there was a listing for both of them for $30 shipped. So let me jump right on that. I am obsessed with the winter version. And if I'm going to do the winter version, I need the fall version. I mean, you can't get them separate. If I'm going to do those two, I might as well all four. And I really do like the summer. Spring, I don't care for. I don't love spring. But if I'm going to do 3, then I might as well do 4. So, yeah, I got on that. I really hope that this is all smoke and mirrors and that these things are not falling out of print, dropping like flies, it seems. I really hope that they're not starting another frenzy, because, yeah, we can't have any more Lady of the Flag. I saw Lady of the Flag while I was doing this search for these. $500, $750. Somebody was asking $1,200 for their Lady of the Flag. $1,200? What makes you think you get 1,000 times the asking price? Or not even 100 times the asking price. Just, people. $1,200. You're insane. Anyway. So, my mailbox was Mira happy there for a couple hours. Yeah. Love that. Apparently, Mirabilia used to be printed in Columbus, Ohio. Who knew? Columbus. Anyway, so yeah, so there's that. And then I also, because of course I did, got the new Cherry Blossom Goddess from Under the Sea Fabrics. But I'm like, really, like, I'm not feeling guilty for these. I'm really happy to have them. So I need to finish 10 mirrors. Oh gosh. I need to finish what I currently have going and then I can start these. Along with everything else that I currently have going. Anyway. Okay. Couple more things. This is a very long video. I received a note from Ann P. And Ann and I share an appreciation for the drawn thread designs. And she sent me a message one day and she said, "Hey, did you get Trick or Treat yet?" And I said, "No, I did not." And she said, "Well, I have an extra copy. Would you like it?" And I said, "Yes, how much?" And she said, "It's a gift, goofball. What's your address?" She didn't call me a goofball, but I felt like one. And so she sent it to me. And so I'm going to pull it out of the plastic. This is another one that almost got started yesterday. So, Trick or Treat. Super cute. Look at the Pepes. Pepe's playing with spiders. That's cool. Love it. And let's see, this one is mostly Dinky Dyes. But mostly Dinky Dyes that I have, ironically. Yeah, anyway. Gorgeous. But Anne did not stop there. Anne is the proprietor and dyer behind Woolly Wonka Fiber. I kid you not, the morning before this package arrived, I was shopping Woolly Wonka Fiber. I was looking at what yarns she had available. And she was in the midst of vending at a festival. And so the shop was quiet. So I got this. Okay, so all three of these are in her Arian Rod sock. ARIANRHOD sock. It is a 75, 20, and 5 superwash merino silk and glitter blend. 435 yards per 100 grams gain. So this is the happiest purple I have ever seen in my whole life. And this is blackberries. And it is showing up brighter than it is. It's like a dark purple. Oh, glitter. Yeah, glitter. Glitter. Next, we have same base in asters, which is like a soft, I want to say pinky base. Yeah, like a neutral pinky base with these speckles. Stop it, Anne. Oh gosh. Orange and purple speckles. And just joy. I love digging into speckle skeins because you uncover the layers. Look at that. Look at that. Oh. And then Copper River. Same base. Much deeper than that. Like a spiced orange. So I am being rendered speechless here. First of all, and I've already thanked you, but seriously, thank you. These are stunning. So, so good. For you yarny people in the world, go buy from Anne. Unbelievable. So gorgeous. So, here's what I'm thinking. But now I can't decide. I think and no. Yes. Okay. So, real quick knitting segment. These two, they are beautiful together as a 3-skein project. And so, if I can find a 3-skein shawl that utilizes a good speckle and 2 semi-solids, then maybe all 3 of them will go together. But there's one thing in my queue that I've wanted to make for a while, and 2 of them together would do really well. These 2, I think these 2, and I mean, like I said, all 3 of them would look really well together. But if I put these 2 together and made a kitty invisibility cloak, which I know the name sounds crazy, it is by Casapinka, and I'm going to insert a picture of what that will look like, finished up. It's a shawl that's knit on the bias, but like kind of opposite of each other. So we have a speckled section and a semi-solid section that meet. It's cool. So those 2. And then there is another shawl that actually calls for this base, and I believe it's by Susanna IC. Calls for 1 skein of this base from Woolly Wonka fiber. And beads. So I'm thinking these 2 together, and I can't remember the name of it. But I will insert that as well as a preview of it here so that you can see it. So these are, they're actually triangle shaped. And they are gold lined champagne triangle beads. But I think that they would look really, really good on that. I contemplated pairing asters and Copper River together and then putting this on here, but I think that the contrast is too high. I think that I want them to be a little bit more subtle on the yarn. So I think those two. If I don't find the perfect 3-skein shawl, 3-color 3-skein shawl. So we'll see. Okay, so we've been at this forever, and I'm going to switch over to books and then let you go, because holy cannoli, I've been sitting here for 3 hours. This video won't be that long, but still. So like I said, I've read 3 books since I saw you last, and all 3 of which I finished in a span of approximately 48 hours. Maybe a little bit longer, maybe 72. And this was primarily over that weekend of the UNC game where I stitched so much on Faces of Fairy. So I was putting in work. I didn't want to watch FlossTube. I just wanted to listen to something. So I put on an audiobook. And the first one I put on is, I have the hard copy version, Requiem by Lauren Oliver. This is the 3rd book in the Delirium trilogy. I think this one was from 2013, excuse me. So this is the 3rd book in the series. So the first one was 2011, then 2012, and then this one in 2013, because YA authors have to crank them out, especially dystopian trilogies. So I'm not going to tell you a whole lot about this because it is the 3rd book in a series. The first book took the world by storm. Delirium, essentially the premise for that is it's a dystopian world where love is the perceived cause of all of the bad crap in the world. Love of one's country, love of somebody else. It brings up, the government, for instance, brings up the Battle of Troy. And if there was no love in the world, then that never would have happened. Love is the problem in the world. And so everybody at a certain age is cured. And so they're given an injection that makes it so that they don't love. And it's not just that they don't love, but they don't have raised emotions about anything. And so everybody is a perceived zombie. But it works really well for this world because everybody is pretty calm. There's no riots. There's no anything. So everybody lives in these towns. And if you go outside of the town, outside of the wall, that's the wilds. And supposedly everybody who lives in the wilds is dead because they refused their injection or the injection didn't work. And so the government has done away with them. And our main character, whose name I just forgot, Lena, falls in love at the offset of the first book. She gets the delirium. It's called delirium nervosa. No, amor delirium nervosa. No. I can't remember the name of what love is perceived. It's now, it's assumed that it's a disease that you don't want. That's perpetuated. But Lena falls in love with a boy. And then, as dystopians do, shenanigans ensue. Government's overthrown. And anyway, this is the finale. This is the finale for the series. The first book was excellent. Like I said, it kind of took the world by storm. First of all, because it was Lauren Oliver's debut, and her writing style is lyrical. Without being poetry, it is the most poetic thing I've ever read in my whole life. But not like choking on it, poetic. It's like, wow, that's the most beautiful description of a thing I have ever heard in my life. Which is ironic because this book was about how love is bad. Right? So, anyway, so the first book was great. The second book I didn't like, personally. And then this one was pretty good. It was a pretty decent finale. It has some young adult dystopian tropes, but it's really good. It was really good. So, yeah. Finished that. The audiobook was only like 10 hours. Finished that up real quick. Then, insert cover here, I participated in a bunch of challenges on Goodreads. I don't know why, because I don't read as frequently as I used to, but I do anyway. One of them, it's, I have to read 10 books that start with the letter O. So either the title or the author's first or last name has to start with the letter O. And so I listened to The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. And that was a spooky little book. It's only 5 hours, so it's really short. I think the print version is only 180 pages. So it's really quick. And it's a spooky little book. I don't even know how to describe it. It's magical realism, but like with a flavor of horror added in. And magical realism in and of itself is difficult to describe. So just add this horror element and it changes everything. So here's the thing with me in horror novels. Horror novels don't really scare me all that often. I guess it's because I grew up on horror movies. And so I'm, for lack of a better term, numb to it. It takes a lot for a book to scare me. I won't very often read full-length Stephen King novels because I laugh when you're not supposed to. I haven't read any Joe Hill, but I've read several other horror novelists, and I just, okay. This book kind of freaked me out a little bit. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I still kind of think about some of the characters in this book. Very bizarre. Part of that might have to do with the fact that I listened to the audiobook and it was narrated by Neil Gaiman, the author. And nobody knows a story better than the author, right? So there's really only one person that you want to listen to tell this story. And yeah, it was really, really well told. Really well narrated. Neil Gaiman does part of the audio for American Gods, not all of it. And I really liked his narration from that book. So this entire story being told from him, really good. And so I gave it 4 stars, I think, because it's not long enough, if I'm honest. I want more. I want more character development. I want more plot. I want more. I'm greedy. And I didn't love the ending. I didn't love the way it ended. There are some unanswered questions. And I'm also a little bit hesitant to call this middle grade. The main character is young. I think 8 or 9 during the course of the book and the story. And so it's child's perspective, and that's told very well. I mean, you get a child's perspective. You get his voice very well. So it's billed as middle grade because the main character is so young, and because all of the characters are pretty young. But it's kind of spooky. I am 29 years old, and I have watched horror movies since I was like 5 or 6. So the fact that it spooked me a little bit, I don't know. I don't love the middle grade classification. Anyway, so that was that. But otherwise, it was really good. The fact that you spooked me out, Neil Gaiman, I'll take it. And then the third book that I listened to, and the reason that I'm in a book hangover and won't pick up anything else, was my latest 5-star read. And I'm calling it a 5-star read, but really I have no business rating this book. And that is Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah is a South African comedian who took over for The Late Show after Stephen Colbert. And Trevor Noah, just putting it out there, is a liberal. He grew up in South Africa outside of Johannesburg. And this book, Born a Crime, is about his upbringing. It's about his family and how he came to be the person that he is. Not the comedian, but the person that he is. The events in his life and the way that the politics of South Africa at the time led to his opinions about things. It feels very cause and effect, like these are the things that happened to me, and so this is why I feel this way. It's narrated by Trevor Noah, first of all. And I could listen to him speak the phone book. Because his voice is fantastic. On top of the fact, there are some South African words from various South African dialects involved in the book, and so hearing them, it comes across so much better than if I was reading. If I was reading it, I would have been like, I have no idea how to pronounce that. And he is such a witty, funny, knowledgeable guy, and it all comes across in this book. Trevor Noah was born at a time in South Africa when Black people and white people were literally, legally not allowed to be together in any form or fashion. Most specifically, not in a childbearing relationship. And Trevor Noah, his mom is Black, his dad is white. His dad is Swiss, German descent. His mom is from one of the tribes of South Africa. And so, Born a Crime, literally, he was born a crime because he shouldn't exist. And so, for the first few years of his life, he had to be kept indoors because his mom would get in trouble. Severe trouble. I mean, we're talking jail time for both parties. So yeah, that's just sort of the start of things. I have not laughed like that in a very long time, and I have a comedian for a husband. I mean, like small time, like really just jokes with family, but it's just funny. Trevor tells this story of, and I'm just going to be brief here, but he tells a story about going to the bathroom when he lived at his grandma's house when he was very small, like 5 or 6, I think. you know how when we're kids, like, we tell a bunch of bathroom humor? Like, that's the big funny. This takes it to a whole new level. On an adult level. This is funny. So, but also then, like, you're laughing at this situation, and then, I don't know, I found myself, like, a little bit heartbroken that this was the situation. The gist of it is, the neighborhood that he was living in, nobody had plumbing. And, like, this is in the 80s, so this is not like 150 years ago. Nobody had plumbing, indoor plumbing. When they said, my 1-room house, my 2-room house, they don't mean 2 bedrooms plus a kitchen and a living room and all that. They mean 2 rooms. That started out as a shantytown and progressively built. And so what led to this whole scenario with the bathroom is that there was one, effectively, porta-john for a block of, I don't know, 15 families. So, yeah. So you're laughing at this situation, but then also realizing how kept down and marginalized anybody of color was at the time. It's just like so much. Anyway, 5-star read. Highly, highly recommended for everybody. Just go read it. Listen to it if you can. Yeah, so good. So good. I'm gonna listen to that on a yearly basis. Like, every year, I'm gonna pull that out and listen to it because it's just so good. Anyway, so that's quite enough for me. I'm gonna stop rambling now. I imagine that my voice has gone up 6 pitches over the last 3 hours. So I am going to bid you all adieu. Thank you so much if you sat through this whole thing. I hope you got lots done. And thank you for sticking with me during my absence. And I am going to end it here. Thank you all. Have a great day. Happy stitching. Be kind.